Alright, so we went ahead and asked him if he was there or needed 40 perception and 50 charm. So 40 perception, 50 charm, or 70 with Archmage Kumari. Why? Fucking abilities are so goddamn low. And whenever I try to do stuff with endurance, it doesn't even do anything either. None of those are any use to me. It's a large swamp, the Archmaster said. They could be anywhere. It is well past the first day of summer when you finally see Lud, which makes General Vale worried because you are behind schedule. Needed one or under army delays for less food use. Wow, that's fucking fantastic. Your food stores continue to be used as the first leg of your march ends. Wow, do I have 0 food now? No, I've got 15 food. That's great. The vast plains surrounding the city make hiding your army impossible. Your war council has been discussing how to best take the city for many months now. The fact that Lud is famous for its horses tells you that it will be facing a very fast and skilled cavalry. The good news is that the city has no true walls or fortifications. You don't know what to expect from Duke Idan, since his skill as a tactician is unknown. You are broken from your thoughts as a great cloud of dust erupts from your right flank. The sound of battle suddenly explodes there as well. You see about 50 horsemen attacking your surprised soldiers. They strike fast and hard before turning away from your main force and riding back to Lud. It takes some time to calm your army down after the surprise attack. I'm guessing this is going to be a whole lot like the ending of the first one, where it's just like it's automatically going to fuck up my army the entire goddamn time, doesn't matter how well I did. They must have been planning that attack all winter, General Vale says with a frown. Duke Adan is more clever than I had thought. They were hiding in a hole covered with canvas and dirt. Our scouts missed them until it was too late. Army morale -7, army power -5, and army size -7. Your army sets up a defensive position outside of Lud. Sharpened poles are placed around the perimeter, and pits are dug so that your troops can hide from mounted archers. Latrine ditches are dug and small walls are raised. The dwarves are tireless diggers, helping with everything from the holes to the poles to the trenches to hide and the ditches for waste. Why is Duke Adan letting us fortify ourselves so well? Lord Torvor asks. Lud has no real defenses, General Vale says. He'd be happy if we tried a siege. This is against us, and he knows it. We need to end this quickly. Command your entire army to march toward the city. Send a raid against the city. Fly the flags of Parley, and send word into the city that you wish to speak to Duke Adan. Hire an assassin to kill Duke Adan. Continue building defenses and raid the surrounding countryside for food. Wait until the still of night, and then attempt to enter Lud and poison the water system. Let's gather our advisors and discuss strategy. General Vale, Lord Tovar, Archmage Kumari, Petra Theo, Nestalin the half-elf, Kurgith the dwarf, Gerstwin the half-orc, Yam the halfling, Captain Brand, and all your commanders gather in the command tent. A large map of Lud is placed on the table with small wooden markers used to represent where your troops are. General Vale has been telling you where to place archers, pikemen, and cavalry since before you even left Brightwater. Now that you are within sight of Lud and your scouts have given you updated information, his suggestions have become even more precise. We need food, Lord Tovor says. We should continue to build our defenses and raid the plains around us. We need to soften them up a bit, General Vale says. We should send a raid. You should speak to the Duke, Archmage Kumari says. Perhaps he will surrender without a fight. Kill Idan, Gerstwin says as she slams her fist on the table. Cut the head off the snake. The conversation around the table continues for many hours as everyone gives their ideas and suggestions. Let's go speak with Idan. Alright. The flags flap in the wind for about an hour before a rider comes forward to deliver a message. Duke Adan will allow you and an honor guard of no more than 10 people to come into the city under the flag of Parley. The messenger says as he reads the words from a scroll. You will be honor-bound to bring no weapons, and Duke Adan will be honor-bound to return you to your camp unharmed. What a load of shit! Theo exclaims loudly, causing the messenger to take a step back. This wouldn't be my choice of word, Or those wouldn't be my choice of words, General Vale says, but I agree. These terms aren't fair and aren't safe. Um, let's accept the terms. You can't do this, Lord Torvor says in amazement. The messenger returns to Lud with your answer. Petra, Theo, and Bran all strip off their weapons, intending to come with you. Archmage Kumare, General Vale, and Lord Torvor will remain behind, in case something terrible happens and a rescue is needed. The rest of your diplomatic party is filled with soldiers. About an hour later, you and your 10 companions are ready to ride to Lud. The stable master brings you Zephyr, your warhorse. Together you ride into the city and are brought to the keep. Your soldiers and the enemy troops are all impressed at your courage. You enter the hall where the meeting will take place and see Duke Adan. As always, he is wearing the most fashionable clothing and his blonde hair is wavy and stylish. He smiles at you. You look like your father, he says as you take a seat at the table. Why'd you join Zuzak and kill my parents? Selena killed Udo and she will kill you next. You need to surrender Lud to me. What's to stop me from killing you? Let's ask him why he did it. Your parents were holding back demon summoning from the people for their own selfish reasons, he said. We liberated the country. Duke Udo, Duke Bandar, Duchess Selena Dumaine, and myself took rulership upon ourselves so the people could have their freedom. Say demon summoning is destroying the land, farms are going unharvested, there's famine and people are dying from its use. You'll pay for what you've done, you're lying, demon summoning means nothing to you. It's being destroyed. Alas, it is true, he agrees. Growing pains, I suppose. We keep tighter restrictions in Lud, Tornassa, and Vernix to prevent those troubles from getting out of hand. Say, so have you given the people the same ban that my parents had? You killed them for nothing? You pay for what you've done. Let's do this one. It is more complicated than this, Duke Adan says as he shifts uncomfortably in his seat. The past is behind us, and we must move on. Selena killed Udo and she'll kill you next. You need to surrender Lud to me. What's to stop me from killing you right now? Selena killed Udo. Oh, I'm certain she'll try, he says bravely, and then grins at you. Besides, the way I heard it, it was your assassination attempt that killed Duke Udo, and Duchess Selena bravely stepped up to give Tornassa rulership upon his death. Yeah, she was lucky the Red Woman was there to save her. He laughs at his own words, knowing full well you had no part in the assassination, that Selena killed Udo to expand her own holdings. Let's tell him he needs to surrender Lud to me. Why would I ever do that? The blonde duke says with a laugh. Tornassa lies a short distance north, and Duchess Selena's army is much larger than yours. Together we will crush you. Say, even if you are right, I can still take Lud before Selena can stop me. Surrender now and I'll let you live. I will take Lud from you whether you want me to or not. I'd rather have you angry with me than Duchess Selena, the blonde duke says. I believe we are done here. Good day. Needed 90 charm, 70 army size, and Lud army under 100. Alright. Lud army 100. So, where the hell am I just... Look at these! Look at these! The abilities are like nowhere. The only thing I was able to max out was my goddamn magic. And then it keeps me using just my magic because that's the only thing I have maxed out. This is stupid. These skill checks are literally made so that way you can't achieve them unless you like, I want to get this one skill check, and then you specifically go through, play the game over and over again and get all this stuff. It's not fun to play this game for the first fucking time. You literally need to just like have a guide and then just like follow it so that you could have the story. You're not even playing your own goddamn character because it's not fucking fun. It's stupid as hell. I'm wearing my clothing. Cape of Shadows. Cool. You know what? That gives me 26. I had 6 before, and half of that was from my goddamn ring. Leave Lud and return to my camp. Alright, army morale plus 5. The Duke doesn't stop you as you and your companions leave the keep. You get back onto your mounts and ride towards your camp. You can practically hear the sound of every person in your army sighing in relief as you safe return. An impromptu applause spreads as you enter your camp. So I would have to have attacked him and then come in. Like, I would have to show a force and then show him. So that gave me some more army morale. My army morale is down to 31%? Fuck off. Also, this isn't my percentage. This is like... Once this hits 0, I'm out of food. That's not, like, I wasn't like, the army sizes shows how much you end up getting out of that. Alright, command your entire army to march and take the city, send a raid, hire an assassin, continue building defenses. Crap. See, the thing is I don't want to kill Idan, but he's kind of being a little piece of shit. Let's send a raid. General Vale nods at your suggestion. The stable master brings you Zephyr, your warhorse. Warhorse. The general starts to say something about the fact that you intend to participate, but then stops. He knows of your skill, and for your war campaign to succeed, he will need your participation. It is difficult to offensively fight an army of cavalry. You leave behind the troops on foot and bring only mounted warriors with you so you can strike hard and fast. Unfortunately, this means that most of your demi-human allies can't help you, except for the halfling outriders who overjoyed to join you when the others can't. As your force breaks free of the rest of the main body of your army, you see movement within the city. You aren't surprised to see a large group of mounted warriors rush out and confront your soldiers. Charge to the front, stay safely in the middle. I'm going to charge to the front. You find yourself immediately facing the enemy's soldiers, making it impossible to cast any spells that need range or to use your bow. Your dagger is useless too, since the enemies are all using weapons with longer reaches. You have no time to think as a sword narrowly swishes over your head. Attack the enemy with a sword, shout words of encouragement to your troop, cast a wall of force to clear the way in front of you. Let's see if we can cast a wall of force. You would need much more room to cast any good offensive spells like the bolts of fire and fireballs. Instead, you create a sphere of energy to push your way forward through the enemy. The soldiers are knocked to the ground and allow you and your troops to trample over them. Your success on the battlefield causes your soldiers to fight even harder. Magic +5 and Blood Army down by 10. The mobile army you are facing becomes denser as you ride into them. You grip Zephyr tightly as you crash into a wall of horses, soldiers, and swords. Push forward, fall back, and let your soldiers lead the way. Allow your halfling outriders to punch a hole through the enemy lines. We'll keep pushing forward. You push Zephyr forward towards the enemy. Your superior mount pushes its way through the front lines, and your army rallies around you as you break through the enemy and into the city beyond. Command your army to set fire to the buildings. Command your army to kill anything that moves. Command your army to attack only the enemy soldiers. The majority of the people on the streets are soldiers, but you see a lot of civilians running around too. As word spreads that you have reached the city itself, people run out of the safety of their homes and into the streets. Your troops avoid these unfortunate people as they kill the soldiers on foot instead. In the chaos, you see many of your troops getting killed as they hesitate over who to attack. Together, you and your army ride back to camp after having executed a very successful raid. +5 good. Future citizen reputation +5, army morale +5, army size -5, army power -5, and Lud army -10. So we got morale and citizen reputation. We lost army size and power, but that's where we had our strong points to begin with. So keeping morale and food would be nice, but I don't want to get the future citizen relationship down because that would kind of suck. Citizen reputation. I don't know if that just went up, but I feel like it was a little bit lower. So they're down 80, and I'm only down 5 from that. Actually, they're down 20, and I'm down 5, so I did 4 times the amount that they took from me, but I still have warring to do after this place. Warring, not whoring. Continue building defenses. I don't want to poison the water system. Let's see if we can assassinate him. You wait until it is very dark and then you attempt to sneak into the city. You decide to leave your friends behind, knowing that extra bodies will only mean more of a chance to be discovered. Unfortunately, as you approach, one of the sentries sees you and calls out. Soon there are many torches lit. You return quickly to your own camp, realizing the city under siege is extremely difficult to sneak into. Needed 60 stealth. Well, because I don't have any fucking stealth. Alright, let's see what they want to do. We need food. It's time to attack. Kill done. I don't want to raid the countryside. I'd rather, like, go and collect rather than just straight up raid it, but we need food. Army food plus 10, army power plus 5, army delays plus 1. Yeah. There are a few farms with grazing animals surrounding Lud. You manage to bring in some cattle, sheep, and horses. Your low walls become larger, and you add more sharpened spears to your perimeter. Any cavalry charges against your position would cost your attackers dearly. Let's fight him. I'm not going to hire an assassin, and we're not going to poison the water system, so there's the only thing left to do is attack the city. You know that you can't stay where you are indefinitely, since you will run out of food. Once you get into the city, the mounted enemy will lose their advantage of mobility. The tough part will be crossing the no-man's land between your camp and the city itself. It is time for an all-out fight. Your troops know what is at stake and are ready to take the city. The stable master brings you Zephyr, your warhorse. Petra nods at you as she checks over her equipment. Lord Tovor will remain behind with the cooks, smiths, and other camp followers. You see Theo speaking to Bran nearby as well. General Vale and Archmage Kamari are fully equipped and ready to ride into battle at your side. Charge the city quickly, approach the city cautiously. We'll do that. Your soldiers get well prepared before the final march to the city. Those with pikes stand on the outside, and those with swords stand behind them, ready to kill anyone who breaks through. Your cavalry ride at both sides of your main force, hoping to funnel the enemy into the center, while your archers follow last, planning to fire over your troops and into the enemy ranks. The soldiers from Lud rush forth as the city to meet you the moment you leave your fortifications. Their horses eating up the distance quickly, the elves unleash a barrage of arrows that drop a few of the charging soldiers. With a great crash, both sides meet as the true battle for Lud begins. Both sides are very evenly matched. You still manage to push inexorably forward and into the city. Needed Lud army 50 or under. Well, that's not going to fucking happen because it didn't poison people. So we both lost 5. The enemy fills in behind you on the outskirts of the city. Zephyr carries you safely through the remainder of no man's land and into the city. Your troops take advantage of the buildings as they set up defensive stance. You dismount your warhorse and hand the reins to a waiting soldier. You look around to see who else made it. You spot Petra nearby, but that is all. You hope that General Vale and the others are okay, but there is no time to search for them. "Your Highness!" a soldier yells from behind. "We are storming the keep!" You and Petra are rushed along with the soldiers until you are standing before the large fortified doors of the keep. You can see the enemy soldiers in the upper windows exchanging arrows with the soldiers on the ground. In the distance, the sound of fighting around the outskirts of the city tells you the battle is still raging. High up in one of the battlements, you see the unmistakable yellow of the Duke Adon's blonde hair as he shouts orders at his soldiers. Try to shoot Duke Adon with an arrow, cast a fireball at the battlements where Duke is standing, cast a spell to warp the wood of the fortified floor, help your troops batter the door down, wait for the soldiers. Let's warp the wood and drop him. Oh, of the fortified door, not the thing. Okay. Let's warp the wood. You say words of magic and watch as the wood twists and turns on itself. This leaves many gaps for your soldiers to grab hold and pull. The door comes loose with a jarring crash, and your soldiers immediately begin to rush inside. You follow the troops inside and up the stairs. You arrive to see Duke Adon fighting your soldiers with a sword. There are bodies scattered all over the floor, casualties of both sides. Shout, "It's over, lay down your swords and surrender." Attack him with my sword, dagger, lightning, put him in a chokehold, fire an arrow. This is a charm thing. Hopefully it'll increase. He says, never. Needed 70 charm and Lud army 70 or under. So that's if I had poisoned them, would be how I would get that over. Let's shoot him with lightning. You're only 2 words in the spell when you feel... Oh, my fucking health went down. When you feel something painful tear into your shoulder, you look down to see a crossbow bolt sticking out of you. You realize that one of the men with Adon had been instructed to fire upon anyone who tried to use magic. You sense movement beside you and turn to find a large spiked metal ball and chain coming straight for your head. You didn't even realize the enemy soldier come alongside you, but suddenly Petra is there. You see the metal ball strike her in the arms as she stops you from getting hit in the head. Adon uses the distraction to retreat down a hallway and barricade himself in an office. Your soldiers continue to use their weapons to batter down the door and finally rush in. By the time you get there, he is dead. One of the people who helped to murder your parents is no more. You are happy to see General Vale and your other missing companions as order is restored. They had also experienced some heavy fighting, but all the injuries will heal in time. The city of Lud returns to normal in a surprisingly short amount of time. The common people hardly care who their ruler is. They have their own lives to lead. They worry more about their children's well-being, about what to make for dinner, and about their jobs. Within a few days, the city feels the same way it did when you lived there 2 years ago. The dwarven smiths are kept very busy as armor and weapons are repaired from the battle. We will be ready to march in a few more days, General Vale says. This isn't a delay. Everyone knew that the army would need to spend some time in Lud to refit themselves and gather food needed to finish the march to Tornassa and take the city. Lord Tovor was already neck-deep in Dukedon's ledgers as he sorted out what food, troops, and cavalry and equipment would now belong to you. You have many important decisions to make before you can get some rest. Deal with the surviving enemy soldiers, discuss strategy with Vale, gather the food. Alright, citizen reputation minus 12, army food, or reputation minus 10, army food plus 12. Your army continues its practice of taking the food it needs, with or without the owner's consent. The food in the barracks that fed the army soldiers is quickly added to your own stores as well. You are surprised at just how little food can be found. Something is wrong. You need to consult Lord Tovar and find out where the food is gone. Deal with surviving enemy soldiers. We have many prisoners of war, General Vale said. We could use the numbers, but it will cause trouble, since they were standing against us such a short time ago. Some of them will feel loyal to Duchess Celine and try to hurt us from within our ranks if we take them. We accept in the army, we need the numbers. I am unifying Daria. They're part of Daria once more. Allow them into my army. Banish them for 1 year's time. After that, they may return to Daria. Let them do as they like, but I can't risk having traitors in my army. Execute them. Unifying Daria. There's probably gonna morale down. Yeah, but army size is up. Your troops aren't happy with the decision. Prudently, you separate the Lud soldiers and scatter them across all of your troops so they don't form pockets of dissent. Some of them cheer your decision, and others stoically accept it. Discuss strategy with Vale. Oh wait, what is my army size now? 91%. Cool. Got a huge fucking army. Discuss strategy with Vale. Decide what they should do in the night of the victory. Sure. Victorious soldiers know to celebrate in very barbaric ways. You have no doubt they would happily steal anything they can fit in their pockets, have their way with the womenfolk, and get very drunk on whatever alcohol they can find. Let them celebrate. No stealing, no raping. We give them that off. Push them straight to work, no time off. No stealing and no raping. Good army morale and citizen reputation. Well, there's no negative there. General Vale nods and passes on your words. The tavern keepers will do a brisk business tonight as the thirsty soldiers fled their establishment. Tomorrow you will put the troops back to work. So we got +5 good, +10 army morale, and +5 citizen reputation. So they like me some more now. Alright, now we need to focus more on food, morale, and some more citizen reputation. Our surplus and power are actually pretty good. Discuss strategy with Vale. Consider recruiting the citizens of Lud. Let's consult Lord Tovor. It's all gone, Lord Tovor explained as he hammers his fist on the ledger in front of him. Damn it! Duchess Selina purchased every surplus scrap of food and spare blade in the city. She paid almost 10 times their value, with the spring due date. She's smart, General Vale says grudgingly. She knew we'd attack Lud, so she'd never have to pay. Duke Adon was an idiot. We're in trouble. Our plans all rested on the idea that we'd restock our food supplies here in Lud before moving on to Tornassa. We have some food with us, but not much, Lord Tovor says. We won't be able to keep our army fed long enough to march to Tornassa, let alone mount any type of siege. Send word to Brightwater. We'll need increased food sent through our supply lines. Start raiding the surrounding farms. Many should be abandoned with crops untended in the fields. Start foraging and hunting for food. The plains are full of unowned horses, bisons, and other animal. Let's start doing that. General Vale nods in agreement. It's the only way, he agrees, but it's going to take time. We won't be able to march upon Tornassa until the end of the summer. We'll be lucky to see the walls of the city before the snow begins falling. Looks like you'll have some free time in Lud, Your Highness. Needed 75 Lord Tovor relationship. Discuss strategy with Vale. Consider recruiting from the civilians of Lud. Discuss strategy. We're securing the city, he says. Unfortunately, we can't stay in Lud for long. As Duke Adan found out, without any walls, the city is too easy to take. Tornassa doesn't have that problem, which is why Duchess Selina will be happy to have us come to her. And if we don't attack her, she'll have a bigger army than us in the spring, and she'll wipe us out wherever we are. 75 General Veil relationship, 2 guard levels, 45 history, and 45 geography. Well, that fucked me. Consider recruiting from the civilians of Lud. Many civilians had joined Duke Idan's army, and many others had already joined Selina of Tornassa, but there were more who hadn't joined either. Some of these people were injured, old or young, but others knew you were coming and were waiting to join you. Recruit anyone who would join you regardless of fitness. Recruit only those who are healthy enough to be soldiers. Don't recruit any of the people from Lud. We'll recruit those that are healthy enough. Army size plus 10 and army power plus 10. After weeding out those who weren't able to wield a sword, you weren't left with very many. After having dealt with the military matters, you find yourself with free time once again as you wait on the food. Your companions all take rooms in the keep with you and fill their days with their own training. Everyone is preparing themselves for the final battle with Selina, including yourself. How do you spend your summer? So, my surplus size is 100%, and my army power is 84%. So we don't need to increase our size anymore. We should work on morale, food, and citizen reputation. So unless it's like that's the only thing that we can increase without making a decrease, we'll increase the rest of the stuff. Nilk apparently has still got some things to say about me. Become an alchemist. Explore my prophetic dreams. Try to find the best swordsmen in the city and have them train you. Enchant my bow. Take my role of commander in an army. Follow religious convictions. Ask Archmage to train you in the arts of wizardry. You offer your services as a sage. Offer your services as bash of skulls to the highest bidder. I want to increase my charm. Let's ask Archmage Kumari to enchant my bow. Needed 80 archery and 40 magic. Learn magic, you won't even need a bow. I know magic, damn it. Let's explore my prophetic dreams. What is this? You recall a dream you had a morning your parents were murdered years ago, but some of the demons, was it just coincidence or was it premonition? Your magical studies never fully satisfy your questions. 75 perception and 75 magic. Wow, that fucked me. Here, let's do this one. You work hard with the troops every day, teaching them to use their blades and making them better soldiers. You go out on patrols with them, scouting the land around Lud, and making sure Selina's troops don't try to attack you by surprise. On payday, you are given a stipend from the army budget for fulfilling your duties. Gain level in guard, gain plus 10 blades, gain plus 10 endurance, gain plus 10 strength, plus 5 army power, plus 5 army morale, and 100 gold. One morning, a letter is delivered to you from the academy. It is from Nilk's teachers. You are surprised to hear that he is doing extremely well and is learning his letters and numbers at an astounding rate. They are still worried because he has yet to speak a single word. Despite this, they are very proud of his accomplishments. Attached to the letter is a second letter. It has 2 words on it, both written in blocky, childish lettering, but the fact that they exist at all is amazing. It says, "Thanks, Nilk." Okay, so I just got back the 20 that I lost for sending him there. One morning, Archmage Kumari comes to your room with a strange idea. "Have you ever considered having a child?" he says. "The kingdom will need an heir. I know that you aren't seeing anyone, but I may have a unique solution. I have a spell which would allow you to have a child without needing a woman. The child would have the same random genetics as any other child." Sure, you can go ahead and give me a kid. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to being with some... That's the thing about these games, is you say you're not necessarily interested in them, and it just doesn't go any route. Whereas, if you say I like females, it just assumes that if you want to get to know a female better, you're going to bang them. Which is what happened with the Cambiar chick from the pirate game, like I said before. Sure, go ahead and give me a kid. Archmage Kumari gathers several magical ingredients before casting the spell. The magical energies gather and you see a perfect black sphere grow and form in the room. It is 2 feet in diameter and shines like glass. The surface is warm to the touch and is entirely opaque. Unlike glass, it has a resiliency similar to soft leather. Kind of like an egg, isn't it? Archmage Kamari says with a smile. It will take several months before the baby is ready to be born. Congratulations, you will have your heir. Use magic to find the sex of the baby. Don't find out the sex of the baby. We're not going to worry about it. You learn the baby's gender in the fullness of time, the same as everyone else. The citizens of Daria explode with the news. In a land of magic where you are often seen with the Archmage of the Academy of Wizards, the unique origins of your child's birth is seen as just another great magical mystery. Everyone in Daria is excited to know that an heir will be born. Citizen reputation +5 and army morale +5. Yeah, that's what I needed. We are ready to march, General Vale says. We have foraged enough food from the plains, and we have enough supplies to reach Tornassa, but that's it. A prolonged siege will find the weather turning against us, and our food running out. Your army gets into formation outside of Lud and begins to march. The citizens of Daria cheer wildly as you pass. Their dreams of a good and just ruler have been fulfilled. The sphere containing your child has been placed in a large chest and wrapped in blankets. Lord Tovor will remain behind in Lud. There is much more that needs to be done before Lud can function normally again. Once Tornassa is secured, Lord Tovor will ride to the capital to help out there too. General Vale rides slowly between the rows of soldiers, making last-minute changes to the orders as everyone marches forward. You ride on Zephyr with Theo as your side. Nearby you see Bran, Nestalin, and Petra. Auriel's grief lies against the half-elf's chest as he chats with Petra. The trip from Lud to Tornassa is very quiet as everyone thinks about what the future is going to bring. The plains are easy to travel, and when the terrain is no longer flat, a large road leading to the capital makes things even easier. Blech. You aren't really thinking about where you are when you enter a small village that looks very familiar. It is Elmvale, the village where Amos raised you. Much like the other towns and villages in the duchies, you see that Elmvale has fallen on hard times. Ask the citizen what has happened to the formerly happy village. Treat Elmvale no differently than any other place. Command your army to veer off the road and walk around it. Command your army to halt so you can visit the small village. We're going to treat it no differently from any other place. Alright, your soldiers take anything needed, food, spare shoes, extra pieces of leather, anything that the army needs, they take. You see a familiar face is glaring at you, but nobody approaches you. Although it will be a sad conversation, you consider delivering the news of Carla's death to her parents. We'll go ahead and visit her parents. You tell them that Carla died nearly 2 years ago in Vernex. They don't seem very surprised, since they hadn't heard anything in all of that time. Although sad, they are happy to finally have some closure as you tell them that their daughter has passed on. It helps a little when you say that she died a hero by saving you from Thuja's axes in the dungeons of Vernex. Thank you for taking the time to personally tell us, Carla's father says. Got +3 good and citizen reputation +10. Sure, we'll visit the place where he did that. The Full Cup Inn is still serving, or it gave me the option to visit the Full Cup. Is still serving drinks to the remaining citizens. It is in rough shape with damaged walls, chairs, and tables, but is holding up better than many of the other local businesses. The owner of the bar, a big woman wearing a dirty apron, bypasses all protocol and picks you up in a large hug the moment you enter. Your soldiers are uncertain what to think of the matronly lady treating you like a child, standing back and waiting to see what you will do. We'll hug the strange lady back, sure. The big woman is all-encompassing as she folds you into her massive arms. She steps back, smiling, and looks at your face. You don't remember me, do you? She says. I'm Ada. I babysat you a few times when you were a little boy. Where's Amos? Is he with you? I'll say Amos is dead. Achievement, a life of regret. Learn of your foster parents' great regret. Oh, neat. Oh, my poor dear, she says, rushing forward to hug you once more. He sent me a letter about a year ago saying that something might happen to him. He sold me the tavern, but he left something for you. She goes into the back room and returns with a small box. She hands it to you and you open it. Inside the box you find a little bit of money, a statue of a spider, and a letter. Dear Ben, the letter reads, I never thought I'd be a father. I led a carefree life of thieving and whoring before I met you. I always thought my life would end in the dungeons beneath Tornassa, until the night I was freed and found you in the castle. You changed everything for me. If you're reading this, then I didn't survive the trip to Vernex. I left you a little something as an inheritance, but I also left you my greatest regret. I stole this statue from a wizard named Luamar, whatever, Lumar. I spent the other half of stuff I stole from him, but when I heard that he killed himself after the theft, I felt terrible. It was just a silly spider statue. Why would he kill himself over it? When I was arrested years later for killing that other man, I brought the statue into the dungeon with me. The guards inspected it very closely, but it contained no magic and no value. Worthless. But now I have 2 deaths to atone for. If you can ever find a way to make things right, maybe my soul will have one less burden upon it. Take care. Amos. 150 gold and a spider statue. With nothing else to do in the tavern, you leave Ada and return to your army. Ben! A man says as you are about to leave Elmvale. To your surprise, you see that it's Master Jet, the owner of the sheep you transported from Elmvale to Lud during your first days of adventuring. I can't believe I hired the Prince of Derry as a low-paid guard for my caravan, he says with a big smile and extends a hand for you to shake. Yeah, we'll shake the man's hand. Master Jet happily shakes your hand and smiles some more. I know that you're marching on Tornassa, and I just wanted to tell you that we're all behind you, he says. I sold all my sheep, as you know, but my neighbor hasn't. I'm sure he'll sell them to you if you want. He'll need some money right away, though. Times are tough, and he'll need something to go by until he can pay the full amount. Buy the sheep needs 200 gold. Take the sheep without paying. Decline the offer. How much gold do I have? Got 275. Yeah, we'll buy some sheep, sure. The entire transaction doesn't take long as you pay for Master Jet's neighbor and your army takes away the sheep. The flock was held far enough outside of Elmvale that your army wouldn't have found it without Master Jet's assistance. So got 200 gold taken away, and I got army food 15. It was about a week after you left Elmvale when you saw the bruises on Theo's face. When you asked him about them, he happily told you all about it. Bare-knuckle fighting, Theo says. I know we aren't supposed to be doing it, but the soldiers like it, and it gives everyone something to look forward to after a long day of marching. Tell the commanders about the fighting and put an end to it. Attend the fight and watch. Soldiers panic when they see you arrive. When you don't say anything, they continue. A pair of combatants enter a crude dirt circle and begin to fight. It's a fairly civilized, and when one of them is knocked to the ground, the fight is over. Theo claps at the spectacle. Applaud for the victor and keep watching. Ask to join in. Encourage Theo to fight. We'll applaud. The next fight involves 2 smaller men. They don't have big muscles that the fighters the first match did, but they are much faster. You can see that everyone enjoys the sport, and now that you know about it, they don't need to do it secretly anymore. The commanders in your army regulate the fights after that, making sure that they don't go too far. It helps build skills and entertains the troops during the long march. Theo relationship +5, army morale +5, and army power +5. Your army makes very good time as it reaches Tornassa. The weather is turning cool and the leaves are changing. You look at the great city laid out before you. It has many tall towers, and the thick walls surrounding it are filled with troops. You see siege weaponry mounted high on the walls, and all the entrances are sealed up tight, including the enormous front gate. Selena will be expecting you. Your army sets up camp and places some rudimentary defenses around it. Similar to Adon, Selena allows you to set up without trouble. She would be very happy if you were to try to wait her out. If you are still outside the thick walls when the snow falls, your army will dwindle away to nothing. As it is, your food supplies are nearly non-existent as you survey the thick walls of Tornassa. Army food -15. Alright, so the 200 gold worth of sheep that I purchased made up for that. So my army food actually it's pretty substantial right now. My morale's good, my power and surplus are amazing, and the citizens love me. That's great. Or actually, in this game, 70% citizen relationship means that they fucking hate me because everything is just above where I need it to be. Goddamn. Every single thing that I've tried to do with charm, even though I like to try to be charming, well, I don't know why the fuck my strength is stronger than my charm. It's fucking stupid. Also, I'm 99% good, 1% evil. Where was it? Army food. You, Nastalin the elf, Gerstwin the half-orc, Yam the halfling, Kurgith the dwarf, General Vale, and your companions all gather in the command tent with a large map of Tornassa spread across the wooden table that was brought just for this purpose. Ask General Vale, how would you have us proceed? Ask Nastalin, ask Gerstwin, ask Kurgith. Tell everyone what you will do. How would you have us proceed? We will need to be cautious, the elf says in his deep voice. I would suggest that we fortify ourselves so that the Duchess doesn't destroy us with a strong sally. West Vale. We have no time to be overly cautious, he says. I suggest that we make siege towers so we can battle their soldiers and not spend our time banging our swords against the base of the walls. But then we must attack right away. I'm sure Duchess Selena will send sorties out to harass us, but she won't commit her entire strength to such a maneuver. She'll want us to wait. We'll need to attack with waves of soldiers until we weaken them enough to mount a full offensive. Any delays will only hurt us and make Duchess Selena stronger. Gerstwin, we attack. We strike first. We strike hard. We don't stop until we have the city. We have taken the city. Kurgith, we must soften their resolve with axes and hammers to their faces. The fierce bearded dwarf says, once we have knocked some sense into them, we should demand their surrender. Yam, how would you have us proceed? I haven't a clue. I've never seen such a thing as this city. The walls are enormous. I'm sorry, Prince Ben. Tell everyone what we'll do. Tornassa is the most heavily fortified city in all of Daria. It is ironic that the heir to the kingdom, it is ironic as the heir to the kingdom, it has fallen to you to attack your own capital. The outer walls are amazingly thick and have held back many attacks in the past. After careful consideration, you only have three real choices. You will go through the walls by building siege machines. You will go under the walls by digging a great tunnel. You will go around the walls by creating a covered ramp to smash through the front door. Siege machines, let's do it. Sounds best. I mean, we've got the dwarves with us. It's possible to dig a tunnel. Dig a tunnel, dig a tunnel. Do we have the meerkats with us? Let's ask the crazy uncle from Lion King 1.5 what we should do. Build siege machines. Siege warfare has always called for siege machines. Ballistas, mangonels, I've never heard of those. Trebuchets are some of the various designs you have your troops start building. There are forests nearby for the structure, and there are great rocks to be thrown. You will have to smash through the walls if you are to succeed. Nastalin hates the idea of using trees, but he understands the need. Very well, you conclude. We have a lot of work to do. You are all dismissed. You recall the frost on the ground that morning and realize you are short on time. Build siege towers to attack the soldiers on the walls, knowing that it will divert your forces from their work on the machines. Build up your defenses, knowing that it will divert your forces' work on the machines. Raid the surrounding countrysides for food. I mean, I don't know why we can't build up defenses a little bit and focus on the machines, but let's focus on the machines. The non-combatants of your army are all camped farther back than the others. You are surprised at how many extra people slowly fill your camp. Many of them are profiteers finding a way to make money from all the assembled people, prostitutes, religious clergy, sellers of charms, honest merchants, and craftsmen for hire create an entire network of commerce. The flags of Tornassa continue to flap in the wind as the soldiers look down upon your assembled troops in wary anticipation. The catapults are in their early stages, which means they are mostly just raw logs being cut and tied together. Send waves of attackers against the wall, continue to hold Tornassa at siege. Send waves of attackers against the wall. I don't feel like that's going to work that well. You know that it's a gamble to risk everything on the machines, but if it works, you will need all of your troops to execute the plan. It's sabotage, one of the engineers shouts as he enters the command tent. We're ruined, another yells, followed closely behind. It takes a few minutes for you to get the full story from the men and women who are building your siege engines. Eventually, you learn that all 5 copies of an essential arithmetic book have gone missing. The book is filled with the tables of values concerning sinusoidal angles of elevation, torque tension settings, adjacent side distance, and other things. Without the book, the siege engines will be too inaccurate and dangerous to use. Selena must have several saboteurs in your camp to have stolen all 5 books without getting caught. Question the master's engineers whose book were stolen. Ask the engineers if they can finish the siege engines without the books. Examine the empty lock boxes where each book was held. Speak to the Thieves Guild about the missing books. Help the engineers write down all the values they can recall from memory. Send a writer back to Lud to find another book, knowing that delays will be unavoidable. Speak to the Thieves Guild. You ask around, but you have trouble need a level in thief. Fucking stupid. Finding someone from the guild. Perhaps if you had been in the city, you could have found out. But being in an army camp, locating the Thieves Guild is tricky business. Let's examine the empty lockboxes. You search for any clues or signs, but tracking knowledge is beyond your skill. Needed 2 levels in Ranger. These skill checks are stupid. I hate them. Question the master engineers whose books were stolen. Probably going to be like, oh, I needed 3 levels in Thug. Well, that's fucking fantastic. Fucking send a writer then. Goddamn. It's late night when you hear noise coming from inside your personal tent, awaking you from a deep sleep. You are lying on your cot with a blanket tucked up to your neck. Roll quickly out of bed, reach out and grab at the noise, look around to see what's happening. You see the dual flash of a blade just in time to move out of the way when it slashes at your side instead of your heart. Needed 60 perception. Fuck off. Pick up your sword and attack him, pull the dagger out and stab the man, punch the man, cast a spell to throw a man across the tent. Alright. You say the words quickly and raise your hand. The man is lifted off the floor as he sails backwards through the air. He lands on the ground with a thud as your guards rush into the tent. Your guards are amazed that the man snuck into the heart of your camp under the watchful eyes. Selena's hired assassin was very skilled, and you realize that you were lucky to be alive. Your soldiers have been like a big group of needy children as they clamor for your attention. They constantly need to be fed, entertained, and disciplined. You sit in your command tent with piles of reports heaped up upon your desk, struggle to keep the entire camp organized. Alright, tell General Vale to send home the weakest soldiers in order to save food. Command your soldiers to work double shifts to gather more food. Increase everyone's food rations. Tell your commanders to reduce the time spent training and give soldiers more freedom. Tell your commanders to send home anyone with a bad attitude. Command your officers to take personal items away from the soldiers to sell for food. Consult with your advisors. Make no more changes as you wait for the machines to be finished. Ones we can't do. Tell the quartermaster to increase soldiers' pay. Spread word that you will pay for extra food. Hire mercenaries who are willing to pledge their swords, or hire any camp followers. Okay, so I don't need any more army, but I could use more food and more morale. I feel like if I'm going to tell them to work double shifts to gather more food, that's going to decrease my morale, and it's morale and food that I need, and I'd rather not switch between the two. Right. The end of the war is nearly upon you, for better or for worse. The day finally arrives when your soldiers complete the siege engines you will use to destroy the walls of Tornasa. Selena's scouts or spies must have noticed something. You hear your soldiers shouting, and runner reports that the gates have opened and the enemy soldiers are pouring forth. By the time you get your things and reach a vantage point to see the attack, it's already over. Needed army camp defenses. Whoa, that's fucking retarded, because I didn't have an option. Didn't have a fucking option of building defenses and having the army. Use the last of Selena's soldiers retreating back behind the walls. They hadn't struck too deeply in your camp, but the celebratory mood of the camp... The celebratory mood that came from finishing the machines is spoiled by the deaths of your soldiers. Army size -5, and army morale -5. Wow, that's great. General Vale's worst nightmare began several days ago. The bitter winter snow started to fall. The dangers of frostbite, exposure, fatigue, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so we got that. Needed 4 or fewer army delays and 50 army morale. Did I have 50 army morale before that? I did. Army food is way down. Army size -7 and army power -7. Your army will begin the final battle with food left over. One last time, you are frustrated by the delays you experienced, since those wasted days meant you needed even more food. Increased army delays, increased army food needed. So we got enough food. Our army size, army power is still perfectly fine. The army morale is just a little bit low, but we're still in good shape. As long as the food isn't at 0, we're fine. Alright, so give the troops extra food the night before the battle. Don't make any changes to the food rations. Fuck it, give them some extra food before the night of the battle.
More morale. Yeah. Soldiers cheer as generosity enjoy their extra food. The morning of the last battle of what would become known as the Siege of Tornassa is very cold. The tree branches are all laced with frost, and thick clouds threaten to dump snow over friend and foe alike. The knowledge that there will be a great amount of killing today helps warm everyone's blood. That's good. There is no need for secrecy as you stand with the largest catapult in your arsenal. The soldiers have named the monstrous device the Behemoth, a fitting moniker. Your troops gather around it, ready to push forward. An enormous boulder sits within its cup, ready to be thrown against the walls. Theo stands near you, holding his enormous warhammer. Captain Bran has his long sword in hand, and his chainmail gleams in the sunlight. Petra's eyes are closed in prayer while she holds her morning star tightly in one hand. General Vale and Archmage Kamari wish you good luck before returning to their positions. Your injuries haven't healed fully, and although the magical healing of the temples has hurried your recovery, you still feel the wear and tear on your body. Speak to the high priests and priestesses in your army and urge them for some stronger healing. Attempt to heal the wounds more thoroughly. Continue with your plans despite your injuries. We're going to go with the plans despite my injuries. Such is the nature of war, you aren't the only person injured as you prepare for the final battle, with 80% health. You and your companions watch as the infantry lead the way, followed by the archers. The engineers and soldiers who will push the catapults wait anxiously for the signal to begin moving. You sit upon Zephyr, your warhorse. Why do I keep fucking doing that? You wait until your advanced forces have reached the designated distance and then give the signal. The catapults all begin moving at once, rolling quickly forward and into position. The behemoth moves forward with the others, and you ride alongside it. You can hear the screaming of dying men and women ahead of you as the siege engines finally reach their destinations. Well out of archer range, the engineers begin cutting ropes and pulling levers. Enormous boulders soar silently through the air and then hit the walls with a deafening crash. Selena is clearly ready for this, as the side gates open allow her cavalry access to the field. They swing out wildly to the sides, threatening to flank the siege engines, and the bulk of the army fights closer to the walls. Unlike the fast-honed horses of Lud, these animals are wearing full metal barding, and their riders are well armored. Tornassa army -3, and my army size -5. Okay. Try to drag the riders from the saddles. Cast chain lightning against the metal-clad riders. That sounds fantastic. That's great. The conductive armor of the enemies makes your spell a sure thing. The blue electricity arcs from your hands and into the first of the riders. From there, it streaks out to the next and the next. The entire first wave crashes to the ground at your feet as both horse and rider are killed by your magic. Several catapults are destroyed, but the behemoth stands tall. The world had never seen a catapult quite like the behemoth. Each boulder that is lobbed towards the city cracks the thick walls and kills many of Selena's soldiers. Your troops wait down below, ready to rush through the growing hole and into the city itself. Lead the soldiers into the breach before more of them die at the base of the wall. Continue smashing the walls for as long as you can. Let's keep smashing the walls. Alright. Each boulder lobbed over the walls kills more enemy soldiers. More boulders explode against towers and battlements. Unfortunately, your troops are exposed at the base of the wall, and there are a few casualties from falling bricks, and many more from the enemy archers still on the wall. It doesn't take long before the enemy soldiers have left the destroyed walls and fallen back into the city. With no more targets, you and your soldiers march forward. The hole in the wall is a tight squeeze, forcing you to get off Zephyr in order to enter the city. Your soldiers fight the enemy in all directions as you stand in a pocket of calm. You march forward with the rest of your troops down the main street of Tornassa towards the castle itself to confront Selena and the Red Wizard. You can see the blackened walls from the fires that burned on the night your parents were murdered, but you can also see the new construction of the repairs. The castle is fully intact and ready to defend its new inhabitants. Suddenly, you see the enemy soldiers all back away, suspiciously giving you room to move forward an entire block without any resistance. Send a few scouts ahead while holding back your main body. Send a few scouts into the buildings while holding back your main body. Continue forward cautiously. Go around the suspicious street knowing that you will take heavy casualties. Continue forward cautiously. Without any warning, the buildings on both sides of you explode into flames. Bricks and lumber, debris blast forward from you both directions, knocking you off your feet. Needed 60 perception. So, I lost army size 7, and army power 7, and 20 health. So what is that? How much have they lost? They lost like 20%, right? My army power is like pretty much the same as theirs, and for some reason my surplus size is down. The royal castle of Tornasa stands before you. This is where you were born and where you should have grown up. It is the rightful home to the heir of Daria, whatever the fuck. You see the assembled might of Selena's army arrayed across the courtyard. Your soldiers line up behind you, and the fighting slowly ceases as everyone waits for your command. The enemy army parts. A small group of people advance forward. You see a woman with straight red hair, intelligent eyes, and a short sword on her hip. It is Selena, the person responsible for poisoning your parents. Beside her is a slender woman wearing a red cloak. It's Selena's deadly bodyguard, the Red Wizard. "So we meet at last," Selena says loudly from behind her soldiers. "I will offer you only this once. Surrender now, or die. Sincerely surrender or shout never." I'm guessing if I have the option of sincerely surrendering, if I shout never, I'm still going to lose. "Very well," Selena says as she waves her hand forward. Selena's army surges forward with a renewed vengeance. Your own troops rush to meet them. The bloodshed is enormous as the final battle erupts around you. Your archers fire and your soldiers defend you with their lives. Swords rend open flesh and arrows pierce deeply into exposed skin. You see Nastalin briefly as he drops his bow and rushes forward with the sword. The elves you recruited fight alongside your human troops. Gerstwin growls as she picks up one man and throws him into 2 others. Kurgith grunts with satisfaction as he buries his dwarven axe into an enemy soldier's stomach. Yam the halfling leaps onto the back of a soldier, his small dagger digging through the man's armor. Streaks of fire fly from the hands of the Academy wizards. Needed 20 or under Tornasa army. I don't know how the fuck I was supposed to get that far down, but damn. Got down 37 from this, and my army size is only down 15. Try to kill Selena, try to kill the Red Wizard, join the battle against the enemy soldiers, support your troops. I'm going to support my troops. Alright, you know that victory can only come by defeating Selena's army, so you concentrate on helping your own troops. Shout encouragement or consider my other options. Oh, support my troops. I can't do anything but shout encouragement? Let's shout encouragement, sure. You call out to your troops telling them, "Oh, needed 90 charge." Well, fuck that. They're doing the right thing and they should look strong. You call attention to the deaths of enemy soldiers and tell them that they are winning. The confidence that you inspire has some effect upon your troops as they fight your enemy. So I would have gotten a bonus if I had more than 90 charm. Tornasa army still -5 again, down to 42%. The battle rages on as arrows fly and soldiers die. The base of the castle is soaked with blood, and the air is filled with the sounds of the injured, yet your troops continue to fight for you. A large group of enemy soldiers break away from the main force and rush directly toward you, trying to end the fight once and for all. Needed 20 or under Tornasa army. Army size -10, army power -10, and Tornasa army -10, so they're down to 32. You duck under a sword and sidestep an arrow, but the increased attention begins to prove too much. Suddenly, 2 more arrows fly directly towards you. We'll go ahead and let Bran protect me. The captain hesitates for a moment as he decides what to do. One of the arrows misses you, but the other drives deeply into your side, knocking you to the ground. Another arrow comes from a different angle and hits Bran in the back, knocking him to the ground. Bran will live, but he is out of the fight. Meanwhile, your troops continue to battle. Needed 90 Bran relationship. Oh, so it would have been fine if... Oh, okay. So if they don't hesitate to defend me, they won't be injured. That's great. Pager should have helped me. But I like Pager too much. Health -20 and Tornasa armor -10, so now they're down to 22. The bodies pile up higher and higher. You realize that one way or another the battle is going to end soon, and only the crows will be happy with the outcome. Unfortunately, Selena's army is much larger than your own. You simply don't have enough troops to do any more damage. You fight as well as you can, but the superior numbers inexorably wash over you and your companions. You are struck by an arrow, and you see your friends fall around you. You double over in pain, allowing an enemy soldier to slash you with his sword. You fall to the ground. Needed 30 army size. I'm assuming that that's actually completely unavoidable. So, yeah, this ended up being fucked up, and I'm guessing I'm dead now. And maybe my glowing demon stone has something to, or the dull demon stone, which is now the glowing demon stone. Whatever. I'm fucking dead, and this is going to be the end of this one. And then in the third one, I'm going to come back to life and kill people. At least that's what I'm guessing, because the way, I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but these games aren't actually allowed to be less than a certain number of words. So even if you make the worst possible decisions, they still have to let you play pretty much through to the end of the game. Even, I mean, you're going to get a bad outcome if you decide to screw it up intentionally, but if you pay attention to it, you can get a better outcome. Like Choice of Robots, I had a really good outcome. Choice of the Pirate, I didn't give a shit about. And then Champion of the Gods, my first playthrough of that, I really didn't care for it too much. But then I went through and like specifically tried to mess everything up. You get like no options or anything like that at some point, except for just screw yourself over or try to recover a little bit. But in the end, you still end up succeeding because like, so if you try to do it right, you don't need any of the gods' help. But if you decide to like legit work against your actual goal, the gods will come down and force things to help you. Pretty sure I was meant to die here. Blackness. You wake up in a dark room. Looking down, you see that you are wearing dull black shackles with bright white glowing runes etched across them. You feel weak and realize that you can't use your magic or reach any of your belongings, even though they have been left on your body. The shackles do more than just stop you from moving. They also sap your strength and make it difficult to think clearly. It is deathly quiet in your dungeon cell. You have lost the siege of Tornassa. Army size 0, army power 0, army morale 0, and health 10 out of 100. The door to your cell opens and Selena enters. I understand that Thuja had you in a similar predicament before you killed him and escaped, she says. Thuja was a fool. I'm not. I have brought my bodyguard with me. Well, he did have bodyguards with him. Standing beside Selena is the woman in red. The red wizard pushes back her hood. Although the eyes are deeply sunken and bloodshot, you recognize the face of the soul burner. It is Jess. Before you can say a word, her eyes turn white, and you feel fire across your stomach as she burns your flesh. You dimly hear Selena laughing as the pain from the soul burner's magic renders you back into unconsciousness. Misery. You have no idea how much time has passed from within your cell. You know that you have been beaten senseless for several months at least. Your child in the magical sphere would be getting very big, assuming that someone has managed to keep it safe. One day you are led out of the dungeons by Selena and Jess. The shackles on your wrists make it difficult to keep up with them as they drain you of most of your strength and prevent you from using any of the equipment you are still wearing. You don't know why Selena hasn't taken anything from you, but you suspect that it may be to give you hope that she can snatch away later. You are taken through the streets of Tornassa to a small house away from the castle. When you enter, you are surprised to see two familiar faces sitting at the table. One of them is Duke Bandar, his dark beard and broad shoulders emphasizing his profile as a great warrior. The other is Alexander Zuzak himself. His carefully trimmed goatee and fancy clothing make him look even more like a delicate court fop. What are you going to do to me? Where are my friends? You will pay for what you've done. Please let me go. I beg of you. The kingdom will not stand for this. Where are my friends? You are ignored as Selena sits down at the table. Have you taken any of his belongings? Zuzak calmly asks Selena, who shakes her head, indicating that she hasn't. Excellent. You have done well. Bandar's duchy is now yours, as promised. Duke Bandar looks surprised at his statement, but looks even more shocked that Zuzak slides a sharp dagger across his throat, splashing everyone with dark red blood. You now understand why this meeting is taking place away from the castle. The Academy wants to paint demon summoning as a great evil, Zuzak says with a grin, showing you his perfect white teeth. So what the hells? I might as well dabble in a little necromancy, too. Betrayal. Duke Bandar slumps in the chair, and the dark black shadow erupts from his chest. Zuzak points towards your rune bag, and the shadow flies forward like a black lightning bolt. It tears through the fabric, spilling the demon stones to the floor. The shadow fades away, its purpose fulfilled. Zuzak calmly steps forward and picks up one of the stones he stole so many years before, ignoring the others entirely. Kagir, I summon thee. he says, causing Selena's eyes to open in surprise. You feel a great shaking as the small building rocks back and forth. An enormous black leathery creature the size of the size of a two-story house grows within the room. The roof is torn free of the exterior walls and falls over. The demon is larger than any of you seen before. It sits partially outside as half the house is destroyed. It turns its enormous head towards Zuzak as the High Chancellor binds it to his will. Bring me Bozar, Zuzak commands. The enormous demon nods its haystack-sized head. Suddenly, a second demon appears. This one is much smaller, perhaps only 6 inches tall. Shield me, Zuzak says. A glimmering bubble suddenly appears around Zuzak and the small demon which crawls onto his shoulder. You realize that he has summoned a demon without using a demon stone, or rather, Kagur, the enormous demon, has done so for him. And even worse, there had been no battle of wills with the small imp. Alright, I think we're going to leave that here. This is seriously fucked up, and I hope this isn't too much of a cliffhanger for you guys, but it's kind of bullshit.